Okay. I request all the participants to please mute yourself. Yes. Meanwhile, you can
I
scan the
had got
QR.
a 1 minute. Why did you? This is a Zoom link. Earlier, you had sent me a Google Meet link. That's
No,
why I
ma'am.
got in late.
Okay, ma'am, it's Zoom link only, ma'am.
No, the one you had sent me,
Oh,
I got it on your mail. It
oh, okay,
said,
ma'am.
I mean,
Got it. Maybe it's
and this
because of the blockers. Got it, ma'am.
I I don't know now. I have to join from my phone, which is rather uncomfortable for me. Are we about to start?
Yes, ma'am. The participants are already here.
Yeah, sure. We'll start.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Harshita, can we have the next slide, please? Yes. Uh, just a moment.
Let me know when I have to start, please.
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. So, before we start the session, I'd like to introduce our expert speaker for today's webinar, Miss Rukmani Menon, ma'am. Can we have Rukmani Menon, ma'am, on spotlight, please, Harshita? Yes. So it's my pleasure to introduce a speaker for today's session. Rukmini Menon ma'am is a mediation practitioner and trainer with extensive experience in the field of dispute resolution. Work and engagement with mediation focus closely on questions of neutrality, fairness, and the role of power within the mediation process, concerns that lie at the heart of today's discussion. Through her professional journey, she has contributed meaningfully to conversations around how mediation functions not just as a dispute resolution mechanism, but as a process shaped by human dynamics and structural imbalances. We are honored to have her with us today to share her insights on whether mediation can truly be an equal process and how mediators and participants navigate questions of power in practice. We welcome you once again, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here to and address the participants today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So before we start, I would like to start this session with an icebreaker question. Rita, let's have the next slide. Yeah, to set the today's agenda. Can we have the previous slide also in order to go ahead with the today's agenda? So we have icebreaker questions followed by a role play that our team will be doing, and we have our Q&A with Rukmini Menon ma'am on mediator and power. The bonus is one interesting part that top three performers will get surprise gift from YCM. And with that, let's have the first poll question, the icebreaker question. Yes. So if the poll is ready, you can trigger this poll, Harshita. So this is a basic question to know how well the participants are familiar with mediation. So what is mediation? You can choose any one. There is no right and wrong answer for this question. This is in order to understand the participants' knowledge on mediation. So we'll have 20 seconds for this. Meanwhile, people who have answered the poll can scan this QR. It will again take you to the YCM's WhatsApp channel. Okay. So I think, uh, ma'am, the crowd is very much familiar with the answer, I guess. Can you see the
Everybody's
answer?
given the right answer.
Right answer. That's what.
That's so
The
nice.
Yeah, that's so nice because we are indulging in a very niche topic, and it will be very helpful for you to communicate with the
Yeah.
audience. Yeah.
But do you tell me something? Do you have even one wrong answer?
No, ma'am.
Oh,
Everybody's 15
fantastic.
on 15. And let's wait
Very
for
good.
another 10 more seconds. We have 27 in the audience, but only 15 answered. So let me
Okay.
wait for 10 more seconds
Yeah,
to
sure,
find
sure,
any
sure. That's
interesting
great.
answer.
That's really great.
Okay. Hey, let me share the results. Yes, ma'am. The results is 100 on 100% right answer.
Oh, really good.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Okay. Fine. Yeah,
Just shows
like
how much YCM has been, you know, how much your trainings have helped.
helped truly, ma'am. Yes. Uh, Yes, with so since we know from the poll answer that the audience is very much familiar with what is mediation, in order to know the basics of mediation, YCM came up with mediation fundamentals course. So, in order to get to know about the basics of mediation, you can register and enroll. You can scan this QR, and YCM team also will drop the link in the chat box. So, right now we have uh, uh, 30% off going for this fundamental. You can avail at 2799. So just to get familiar with what is mediation. Yes. Next question. Yeah, this is another interesting poll question. So
Yes.
yes, if one party is more powerful than the other, what do you think happens in mediation? Harshita, you can trigger the poll. There's again no right and wrong answer. So that's why we have Rukmani ma'am, Menon ma'am here to clarify this imbalances. So yeah, we have 30 seconds for this poll question. Only 9 out of 27 participated. Vishal Shekhar, you can click the poll so that we know that you are here. So you can take your answer into accountability. Okay, ma'am. Interesting. Why? Because uh, it's a
Let's
mixed
have.
answer.
Oh, it is interesting.
Yes,
What is
it's
it like?
interesting. Yeah, I'll share the results shortly. Let's wait for 30 more seconds, 20 more seconds,
Yeah,
because
you
I
have to
feel,
finish your 30 seconds time
yeah, yeah,
given.
yeah.
No?
Let's see. I think yes. Let's end the poll and I'll share the results. And ma'am, after these results, I want your opinion here. So yes, ma'am. So it is 84% people opted for the process tries to manage the imbalance, and 16% opted for the mediator ignores the imbalance. So I need the answer. The rest 0, 0. The remaining
Okay.
answers.
It's the process tries to manage the
The
imbalance.
imbalance
Yes.
84%. Yes.
Very, very important to do that. Otherwise, the process comes to a grinding halt.
Okay. I think we can see the results, right? Yes. So with now, let's move. We have a short role play which was prepared by YCM team. So I'll give the brief introduction of the role play, and thereafter you will have in between the role play we will be having a Zoom question, a poll question. Similarly, how we had an icebreaker question, the polls that are related to the uh, role play that the team is doing. So I request all of you to pay kind attention to this role play in order to have an understanding. Just a moment, team. So this role play is about, I request the team to rename yourself and be on the screen. Meanwhile, I give the introduction about you. So Gelato Gelato, a well-established ice cream brand, granted a franchise to Amrita, a young entrepreneur. Amrita introduced a new chocolate flavor that significantly increased sales at her outlet. Gaurav, the brand owner, claims she breached the franchise agreement by creating and selling an independent recipe. So the dispute is now referred to mediation, raising the question, who really holds the power in this room? So, yes. Harshita, you can spotlight the actors. You can remove spotlight from me and Rukmani Menon ma'am.
Yeah, the actors should be on the screen.
Yeah, the actors should be on the screen. Fine. Yes. Over to the role play. Yes.
Good evening. My role is to facilitate this discussion neutrally. I won't take any sides and I won't impose any decision. I'll just ensure both of you are heard. Who would like to begin?
Amrita, let's be practical. I built Gelato Gelato over 10 years. You took a franchisee last year. That brand exists because of my reputation.
And I clearly respected that reputation, but I built this outlet from the ground up by my own. I hired the staff, I managed the operations, and I turned all the losses into profit.
Under my name. Don't forget that.
Let's pause. What I am hearing is experience on one side and recent efforts and performance on the other side.
Okay. Now it's time for poll question. So at this stage, Harshita, you can also trigger the poll. At this stage, who appears, according to you, who appears to hold more power? Again, there is no right and wrong answer. Yes. Gaurav, Amrita, both, or are you unsure? We have 20 seconds. We are getting a mixed answer. Yes. So the poll results are 56% said, so it's still changing. Yes, okay. 53% said Gaurang is the brand owner. 12% opted Amrita, who has more power. 29% said both. 6% said unsure. So let's see how this conversation role play goes. And later, let's hear it from Rukmani Menon ma'am. Yes, over to the actors.
My lawyer has reviewed the franchisee agreement. You are breaching the contract for introducing your own chocolate flavor under my brand.
Just because I don't have a legal team doesn't mean I have no legal knowledge, okay? So the agreement doesn't actually explicitly prohibit any innovation of fraud. Just because you can afford a lawyer doesn't mean I'm automatically wrong.
It just means I am prepared.
Okay. It's time for the next poll question. So, who is more powerful now? You can trigger the poll question. After this conversation between Gaurang and Amrita. Yes, who is more powerful? Yes towards Gaurang, yes towards Amrita. Power is balanced, power is dynamic, and power is dynamic and shifting. You have 10 seconds. Okay. So 42% opted yes towards Gaurang. Still, Gaurang rules the majority. 11% towards Amrita, 11% power is balanced, 37% power is dynamic and shifting. So this is the results. Okay. Let's over to the actors now.
Gaurang, you mentioned in our earlier discussion that sales have recently increased.
Yes, because of the chocolate flavor that she has introduced. Customers are demanding it very much across our outlets.
Exactly, and that recipe brought more people in, and it's one of the highest selling item right now.
But it was created within my franchisee system.
And that is what is driving overall revenue for your brand. And I have another meeting right now, and I do not have the time to deal with this. So let's meet in our next mediation session.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay. So now we have the next poll question ready. At this point, who has power shifted? Yes towards Gaurang, yes towards Amrita. Power is balanced, power is dynamic and shifting. There are no right answers, right and wrong answers again. You can opt. Okay. Sharing the results. We have 13% towards Gaurang, 38% towards Amrita, 25% power is balanced, 25% power is dynamic and shifting. So with this role play, it would have given you an understanding about the power imbalances. Now, I'll ask the question to Rukmini Menon ma'am regarding the power imbalances. Yes, ma'am. You can also add spotlight, Harshita, to Rukmini Menon. Ma'am, the first question to you. In your experience, what are all the types of power imbalances have you come across?
Yeah, that's a nice question, Faiza. The different the different types of power imbalance. I'll just sort of list them out and then speak a little bit about each of them. Could be a financial imbalance, could be an informational imbalance, could be an emotional one, could be a structural one, or could be a situational one. Now, financial imbalance is when one party has, is more financially secure. Like it's a big corporate against uh, a smaller proprietorship. For example, in your role play, it is a corporate against an individual, right? So that is you could. I would also say between if it's between an employer and an employee, between a husband and a non-working wife in a matrimonial dispute, where the purse strings are held by the totally controlled by the husband. And this financial imbalance makes a big difference to the the whole mediation process. If it's not, has to be handled very cautiously. The next is informational imbalance. That could be like, for example, suppose it's pertaining to uh, a land dispute, say, and a property dispute, not land, I'd say property dispute, and all the property dispute between a brother and a sister. They are each is trying to claim a share, and one is claiming that there is a will, and that document is not with the other one. So that is, informational imbalance, that one is with documents, one is without documents. Now, what I've seen often, informational imbalance, what I have seen often, very often, is that there are a lot of, though mediation is an informal process, not bound by laws of evidence and the civil procedure code, etc., but there are a lot of relevant decisions which are pertinent to certain issues. Now, if one party, there are some advocates who come in all prepared, you can't expect the party to be knowing about all decisions. Now, there is one party who knows all about these decisions and so is helping his or her party to sort of totally go forward in the mediation. And the other side is not aware of these decisions, the latest decisions on the issue. Could be about, say, I'll give you one example here, that how is alimony granted to a working wife? Is it the same as a non-working wife? What are the things to be kept in mind? And what are the latest decisions on this? Right? Um, you have emotional imbalance or where one party is more uh, emotionally secure, and again I take you to an husband and a wife. The wife could be very insecure because she's scared of losing the custody of her children to the husband. So that makes her extremely insecure and she's so very nervous about the whole thing. An employer and an employee. Employee scared of losing his or her job and wants to make sure that, nothing nothing should upset the process should not in any way affect the equation between the employer and the employee. You have what is called structural imbalance, which is a typical of the role play what you did between. You see this very often between a big public limited company and a small franchisee, between a bank and a borrower, between these are the two examples I'd like to emphasize on, where the bigger company, the company tries to dominate the other side, saying, I have everything, I can ruin you. And that happens very often. And the last one is situational. Situational in the sense, one party is in a great hurry to close this mediation, and in the process is not looking at the totality of the situation, just looking at only one, that how can I close this because I need to move on from here. For example, if money is owed to from between, there is a loan taken by B from A, and A is very desperate to get some amount back because he has an urgent personal requirement. So he is ready to close this at a 50% discount to B whom he's taken the loan from. That could be a situational discount or I'd say next, if suppose it's a husband and a wife, and I've seen this happening, husband and a wife where the husband holding the carrot of, or it could be the other way around also. The wife says, I've got the children till you give me so much alimony. I'm never going to, of course, there are legal recourses to all this. I'm going to make sure that visitation of the children is made impossible for you. So these are the sort of things, and this is something which you see happening. And employer-employee again. Employer-employee, fits into all this because an employee is always a more vulnerable party, right? And the employer holds all the financial, the more powerful one, and the emotionally stronger in the whole thing. So these are the main type of power imbalances, which you see often between parties.
Yes, ma'am. It actually clarified, all the doubts on power imbalances. We know few, but even if we take one subheading also, one topic also, there are different types of imbalances. It's definitely enlightening to know about this. The next question is, what is the mediator's role when they come across a power imbalance?
So now, so see, the mediator is the one who, in a mediation, as everybody knows, the outcome is always controlled by the parties, right? But the process is controlled by a mediator. Now, if the mediator does not take control, sees like, a very powerful party and a less powerful, the other side is less powerful, the other side is emotionally down, the other side does not have a good lawyer or is without a lawyer, uh, it is for the mediate, because if the mediator does not put this power imbalances in place, two things could happen. Either the mediation fails, huh? Or the more powerful party forces the other side just to agree to their terms and conditions. So it's not a very fair settlement then. Right. A settlement should be something which both are equally happy about. Both it's we say no, mediation is a win-win situation. In something like this, when one party is dominating over the other side, it can never be said that it's a win-win. So what do we do in mediation if we see something like this happening, that the dominant party is trying to take over the whole situation? We break into a private session, what is called a private caucus. Then we sit with the weaker party and try to understand, like, I'll give you an example here, which it was between a husband and a wife, a matrimonial dispute, and they had come in for what is typically called a mutual consent divorce. But the wife, right in the beginning, asked me for a private session and said that I'm forced into this. So on being asked, why do you say that? She said he's recorded some videos of mine which are fake. And I am not working, I'm not educated. And he was a big officer somewhere, holding a high position. And he's threatened me at the moment, he's given me a house, that if I don't agree for this mutual consent, he's going to take away the property and not let me visit my children. So for me, that's what made me sign the divorce. So here, see, there's a total imbalance, and she's cornered. The wife is cornered. So, in all fairness, I asked her, do you want to continue with the mediation, or do you want to say that you would not like to go on with this? She said, I need time to think about it. So she went, and after a day or two, whenever the next date was, she came back and said, I am left with very little choice. Because if he takes away this property, my maintenance, and my children, I'm left with nothing. And if I have to fight against him in a court, I don't have that kind of mental strength or the financial. People are also not that well off that they'll support me in this legal battle. At least this way, I retain the property. And this way, the children are with me. And he only wants to visit them, because ultimately what turned out was he was planning to get married to somebody else. He just wanted her out of the way. Now, see, though there is a power imbalance, and the dominant party here was calling the shots, but the wife, after consulting her lawyer and after thinking about the consequences on her own, see, as a mediator, we can't tell them, no, you shouldn't go in for this. I think you better go for a contested. She has to think about what is best for her, right? It is a process where the parties think for themselves. So ultimately, the mediation settled on the terms and conditions that she was given the house, the children were handed over to her, custody of the children was given to her. The husband only wanted visitation. He was paying the entire educational expenses, and he was paying maintenance both for the wife and she wanted to stay in the marriage, but at the end of the day, she herself thought about it and came back and said that, I do not have the strength, mental strength. There is an imbalance here, but the imbalance, the party, gave in to the imbalance because she gained from that imbalance, right? Now, I would like to talk about one more, where knowingly a party has given in. There was this mediation done. This was my own. There's a mediation done by somebody, which was, we were discussing power imbalance. There was this very elderly gentleman who was negotiating with a developer for his property. Now, what happened was in private caucus, in the joint session, the elderly gentleman agreed for a price for the property from the developer, which was almost half the market price. So the mediator thought, okay, is he being forced into this? Does he even realize that what he's doing? Because he came in without a lawyer. Now, you can't advise a party in mediation. So in the private caucus, that gentleman turned around and told the mediator, you may think that I don't know what I'm doing and I'm making a very foolish mistake. I know the value of property is much higher, but I have certain personal constraints which I don't want to, speak about in front of the developer, because he may further bring down the price. This price is okay for me. It's much lower than the market price, but still okay for me. Then he told the mediator what was the reason. He said he was about in his mid-80s. He said, my wife passed away recently. I have got two sons who are in their 40s, who are both mentally unstable. Now, if I have to fight it out with the developer, and if I die in between the litigation, my sons are on the road. And I know my relatives will not in any way support them. Now, if I settle with this, I know that I can settle them in institutions where they'll be looked after very well till the end of their lives. So at least I have that satisfaction of dying whenever I die, knowing that my sons are safe somewhere. So again, though there is an imbalance here, the party decided what was best for him, right? And all this information is given. So that's why private caucuses in power imbalance, to understand the situation, is very important. Because most of these weaker parties are not very agreeable to divulging such information in front of the other side. Now, information, like the next step is information sharing. What happens is, in a private session, both the wife and the owner of the property were very willing to share as to why they would like a settlement, which was, though to the outside world, looked to be very much against them. But ultimately, it suited them, and why it suited them. So information gathering in private sessions is very, very important. Now, the same thing applies. Like, I remember a mediation between a franchisee and a owner of a sports company, where the sports company had sued them for money owed by the franchisee. So the franchisee first said he did not owe them money. Then in a private session, he came out with, no, I do owe them money. I don't have the money. And this was during COVID. So what am I supposed to do? But I'm willing to pay the money in installments if they reduce it to a certain extent. So when with this proposal, when I went back to the company, which was saying, we have all the money to fight out this litigation for the next 10 years. We don't care. We want the entire money back. So when they were told that, okay, fine, you fight it out, but suppose you do get an order from court, get a decree from court for the entire amount with interest, how would that help you? As far as legally it goes, once you have a decree, you have to execute it. That means you have to attach some properties of the borrower, for here the franchisee. So, I mean, it was a simple question that, do you think the franchisee will be in existence at that time for you to attach anything? Do you think, do you think there's a possibility of him closing shop and not being in existence? So immediately, I mean, first they said they wanted time, they discussed it, and then they realized even if they're getting 75% of the amount, they're getting something and not coming out with a paper decree, where after 2-3 years, after spending more money on litigation, they would not get any money in hand. So here, information sharing with the or reality testing with the bigger company, with the bigger, more powerful side, made them realize that okay, we also need to sort of be sure of letting go of certain things. Now, in a mediation, an opening statement is very important, and setting ground rules. The mediator always says that, please don't interrupt each other. Everybody gets a turn, and don't speak out of turn. So here, it is up to the mediator to ensure that a powerful party and a less powerful party are given equal opportunity of speaking and answering their respective questions without interruption from the other side. And if that again gets out of control, the best thing is again take them into caucus and gather this information in private caucuses. And reality testing, what I told about the sports company, when they realized that they could fight for 10 years, but the reality was, even if they did get a decree from court, what would they get? It would be just for them to write out their debt, this debt in their balance sheet. In reality, they would not realize even a single penny. Whereas if they reduce the amount in install, and they did realize that amount. Ultimately, in 4 or 5 installments, they did realize 75%. And the best thing about this whole, I mean, what was really nice about this dispute was they re-established their relationship as supplier and franchisee. So this is, how the mediator can control power imbalance as in when it arises.
Got it, ma'am. I think you already answered my the last question also. Following this is going to be the last question from my side, and we have the audience be asking, will be loaded, you will be loaded soon with a lot of questions. The
No
last question
problem.
from me. The last
What
question
is it?
from me. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the parties come in unequal, can
Uh,
mediation ever truly start as an equal process?
Normally, lots of parties come in unequal.
Yeah, as you
And you can,
mentioned, just
yeah, you can make out, after, just the starting session, after your opening statement itself, you can make out the dynamics. So there itself, as I said, setting ground rules, make it very clear that you will maintain a certain dignity of the process. You will not talk over each other. You will not interrupt each other. You will let both sides are allowed to talk. Both advocates are allowed to talk. Now what happens is one side comes with some fancy lawyer and the other side comes with one small junior. So then you make sure you ask the who doesn't know anything, and then you will have to tell the other side, you'll have to ask the person, the younger lawyer, that would you like to get in, should we have another date where you get in your senior who can answer, who will be in a better, do you think you want an opportunity, because you cannot say no, 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 you don't know anything, so you go get, ask them that how would you like to proceed in this. So a lot of mediations, but it's up to the mediator to ensure that somehow or the other, in some manner or the other. See, the two examples I gave you of the wife and the elderly gentleman, they accepted uh, certain offers because they knew they'd be better off, right? But it is for the mediator to understand this power imbalance and ensure that, it's not unwillingly. The wife may have unwillingly, to begin with, accepted whatever, but then in the long run she realized that if she uh, fought for her husband, she would be a big loser, because she won't, maybe not get the husband back, she would lose the children, she would lose her financial status, she would lose her property, her parents are not in a position to support her. So it's for the mediator to ensure that this inequality is balanced during the process.
sure, ma'am. So thank you for answering my questions, and now I've opened the floor to the audience. You can raise your hands, and the Vysim team will unmute participants. We have 10 minutes Q&A. Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to utilize audience time since nobody's asking. So, when you gave the example of power imbalances of when party truly has the power, and you genuinely know that the other party, has to be obliged by the decision of the other, as a mediator, don't you feel that neutrality, or don't you feel you are taking side for the powerful party, though it is benefiting the other party, the weaker party? Don't you feel that neutrality being breached or impartiality is being breached there?
Pfizer, the problem and the issue here being that you let the less powerful side take a call.
Okay.
You are not taking a call on them. You're not telling, I mean, in the mediation, the other one was not my mediation. I heard about it, the developer in the husband-wife one, you become partial or you lose your neutrality only if you start telling the weaker party, you know what, I don't think you have any choice in this matter.
Yeah.
How are you going to manage financially? You yourself said your parents are not well off. How do you think you're going to manage? How do you think you can ever get custody of your children? It'll be very foolish on your part to fight, to oppose your husband. Leave it to the weaker party, saying that, okay, these are the things here. Now take a call and as to how you'd like to proceed in this case. Do you want to carry on? Do you want to fight your husband for getting him back? And if you're going to do that, think of the consequences, discuss it with your lawyer, find out how long a litigation will take, how much you'll have to spend, and what happens in between to the custody of the children. Decide how you'd be maintaining yourself. Decide on all these aspects and then you take a call. So to ensure, it's a very good question to ensure, because you're always scared of, as mediators, that, you may not remain neutral.
True.
Or you totally, see, being neutral means you are not connected to the people, or you're not getting anything out of, it's not benefiting you. Here, I would say being partial to the more powerful side. It's more of your impartiality being impacted. But when you leave the decision to the weaker party or to the stronger party, see, in the other case, the franchisee and the company, the decision was left to them. That, do you really want to go ahead with this litigation against your franchisee? And what are you going to gain? Have you thought of what you're going to gain? A reality testing. That if you get a decree, what are you going to do with it? So it struck them that yes, we may get the full amount, we may get interest, but we may not get money in hand. So these sort of factors become, very important in ensuring that as a mediator, you've not lost your impartiality.
Got it, ma'am. Yes, that answered my question. So it also gave me a clarity on impartiality and neutrality, which I always have in the process, ongoing process.
Yeah. See, impartiality is, being unbiased and non-judgmental.
True.
That is during the course of the mediation, right?
Yeah.
Your behavior during the course of mediation. Whereas neutrality is even before the mediation starts.
Got
because
it,
to ensure that you know connection to both the parties.
Got it, ma'am.
You could be knowing the lawyer, you could know the parties, one party's uncle, you're related to the uncle, or ensuring that this particular dispute in, you're not connected to the subject matter of the dispute in any way. So that is neutrality, and the other thing is impartiality. Though there's a thin line dividing them, but
Yeah,
there is a lot of difference between the two, if
got
you
it,
look
ma'am.
at it actually.
Yeah, we have hands raised.
Yeah.
Suman, can you unmute and ask your question?
Ma'am, my
Uh,
question is in mediation, how can be mediated
Mediation.
ensure mediation? How can
Yeah.
mediator ensure fairness when one party is financially or socially more powerful than the other?
Uh, it always, like I gave you the example of the husband and the wife. One party is always financially better off. Not always, quite often. I would not say always. Quite often, financially better off. Uh, then it is for the mediator again to have private session with the parties. Ask the less powerful party that, how do you think this whole thing is going to affect you? The other party can carry on litigation for a much longer time, has all the money. How do you want to go on with this case? Would you like to uh, talk about what is it you actually want to get out of this? I mean, what are you expecting, and what will make you feel satisfied at the end of the day? Here, for example, between the franchisee and the corporate, the franchisee very clearly said, what I really want is somehow I'll repay my debt, but if I'm given installments, and if I can re-establish my relationship. So it is by way of private caucus and by asking the right question, you somehow try to balance the difference in the, what do you call it? Financial differences between the parties.
Ma'am, one
Participants,
more
please.
question.
One second. Renal, I would like to ask Renal. Participants, please mute in the background, please. Yes, Renal, you can go ahead. Yeah.
I hope I've clarified that doubt.
Yes, ma'am. You have.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
Renal.
yeah. So thank you for the session, ma'am. So I come from a family law background. So I wanted to know if mediation can work among two parties when into a marriage, if the marriage has been abusive, like if there are instances of domestic violence, or if mediation can be successful there, and what are the challenges that are unique to that situation? How can a mediator handle that?
Oh, you have a lot of cases coming in, abusive marriages, domestic violence, and all that. Now, here there is a lot of imbalance between an abused wife is scared. She is not, in a position. She is very, also, as I said, the emotions sort of are very are controlling her whole behavior. So in such cases, what happens is, in domestic violence, either the wife goes and files a police complaint, and the husband is called to the police station, and the cops usually try to talk to both of them and ensure that the husband will not be will not repeat this action of domestic violence. But if it comes in for suppose there's a divorce case, and the main ground of the wife is violence, cruelty. So there, you do ask the right questions and get information as to how would the parties like to deal with this? Like, would there's some wives who have suffered a lot of domestic violence who are not financially, what do you call it, capable of looking after themselves or the children. And they have suffered domestic violence because the other side is more powerful. But circumstances have forced that wife to file for a divorce. So then it is for the wife to decide that yes, I will face whatever in India, even today, divorce is in some, a lot of social circles still considered a social stigma. So if you are ensured that, you will be able to get alimony and settlement which will look after you and your children well. So she can get out of an the wife can get out of an abusive marriage. So though there is a power imbalance over here, it is for the mediators to ask the wife the right questions during a private session as to what exactly is she looking for. I gave you an example of a husband and the wife in the beginning. Now that the wife was there's no physical violence, but she was she was really at, what do you call it, at the end of everything. She didn't know what to do. And she wanted to go back to her husband, but she knew that that man wanted to marry somebody else. So in domestic violence cases, the best is to find out how would the wife be by gathering information, by making her aware that, what do you ask her? Do you think you can go back into a marriage like this? What do you stand to gain? Do you think if some settlement amount is given to you, do you think you will be able to manage and go forward in your life? So it's again sitting, gathering information, giving confidence to that party to able to understand the emotions of the party and handle those emotions properly. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I think Subhash Ji, you can unmute and ask.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My question is, in case of matrimonial dispute, if the abuse of process is done by the wife, taking advantage of all legal situations wherein laws are in favor of wife, and wife abusing husband, threatening him with respect to serious offenses or which is actually not there also, but still abusing the process of law and taking advantage of favorable law positions in favor of wife. In that case, how the mediation will work?
Again, this is a situation we come across pretty often. Very unfortunate. And I'll tell you of a couple of cases where the husband had filed for divorce because he had reached a stage where he was sure that the marriage could not continue because of the total incompatibility between him and the wife. The wife realizing that there was little chance of her being, what do you call it, her being able to get back into the marriage, they advise to file, there being no domestic violence, file for domestic violence, file for child custody, file for 498A, which is a non-compoundable offense. So in such situations, and these are filed because ultimately the wife realizes that these litigations could be used as tools to maybe get a bigger settlement amount from the husband. So when you do sit and talk to the wife that, okay, uh, when there was a domestic violence, you are saying you were physically abused. Did you file any police complaint? Did you go to the hospital? It's always in the negative. You're complaining of dowry. What was the dowry given? Is there any, did they insist on dowry pay? Most of the wives, you'll be surprised to know, they don't even know what 498 is. They say if the lawyers asked us to sign, we've signed. So we don't know about it. And child custody. Child custody saying that I want complete custody of the sole custody of the children to take away even visitation rights. So then you have to sit with the husband and ask him that what is it you want? you want the marriage to you don't want to get back with your wife, right? So, and you are responsible for giving her some, suppose she withdraws all this, what's the type of what is the alimony you're likely to give her for her and her children, for your children, and also reestablish your visitation rights? How do you want to go about doing this? Uh, make them think, give them that sound, that kind of assurance that these frivolous complaints, what happens in a matrimonial matter is all matters get closed if there's a settlement agreement. It is not only one single divorce given and okay, you continue on with the other cases. We don't. No. When a settlement agreement is drawn up, the 498A dowry, the domestic violence, the child custody, everything gets tied up nicely together. So both the parties, the powerful, the less powerful, everybody should, weigh the pros and cons and decide in the long run. See, when you have children, you should also keep, at some point of time in a matrimonial dispute, their egos are what do you call it, egos and their bitterness against each other so high they forget about how it's affecting the children, how adversely it's affecting the children. So, putting all this, parties sit, think, discuss with the lawyers, and they have, and lot of such cases have been settled. I hope that answers your question.
Actually, madam, still some doubts.
Yeah. What's your
Since
doubt?
the purpose of misuse itself is exploiting, putting under pressure and using dominant position provided by the law. Now, how
Yeah.
to tackle this? Here,
Tackle it by way of sitting. What do you do in a mediation? You discuss what is it. Ask the wife who's exploiting. At the end of the day, what do you want? What do you want? So the wife does come out with, I want. If I'm out of the marriage, I want to be able to live a comfortable life. I want this amount of settlement amount. I want to be able to retain my children, but the expenses should be met with by my husband. So you have to forget this so-called this exploitation tactics used by the wife to reach there, and make sure that they come to a meeting point where all these cases she agrees to withdraw. And it is very important for the husband that he's able to meet the children on a regular basis, though and it's a joint, then they agree for joint custody of the children also. She may have taken, unnecessarily legal actions against the husband, there's no doubt. But then at the end of the day, what is mediation about? Sitting, discussing, seeing where you can meet in between, powerful, less powerful, what is better for husband, what is better for wife. Here, what does the husband want? He wants out of marriage. He wants to remain. He wants that the cases should be withdrawn. He wants to be able to visit the children. What does the wife want? She wants a comfortable settlement amount. She wants the children's expenses to be taken care of. In these circumstances, she is ready to withdraw the cases. So they should meet. So this is, understand the actual, not the position, the interest of the parties, so that they can be, you can have a settlement between such parties. And this happens also.
Okay, now owing to time constraints, we want to close this session. Harshita, over to you.
Thank you, Mom. That was a very wonderful interaction. I learned a lot. I hope everyone present here got their own insight. And for those who could not have their questions answered, please put the questions to our YCM's email address. We will have it addressed by Mom for you. So now moving to the final part of the session, the most interesting one where we'll get to know where you'll get your certificates as well as where we'll get to know the top three performers. So I will ask our team Nidhi to have the feedback form dropped in the chat. For those who can scan it, please do. We'll give a 30 seconds for this so that it would be you would get your certificates once you fill the form.
Thank
The
you. I would just like to say thank you to all the participants and thank you to YCM. It was a very enjoyable session. And this
Yes,
is a
ma'am.
very, very important aspect which has to be handled very carefully, power imbalance in mediation. I'm glad you chose this topic.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Before we leave, we want to take a picture with you.
Yeah, please, please.
Nidhi, if you're ready, we can click a picture with ma'am.
Yeah, just a
And
moment.
yeah, participants, if you we want you also to be there in this screenshot. So if everyone is here, you can please raise your camera. You turn on your camera and show thumbs up. It would be great to have all of you. Okay, people are turning on. Let me give you 10 seconds to turn on, please. Okay, 10, 9, 8. Nidhi, if you're ready, you can say
Yeah.
ready. 3, 2, 1. Yes, fine.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Coming back to this, I hope everyone has filled your form so that
Yeah.
you will get your certificates. And then we are having a full-fledged 40-hour mediation training course that will be happening this Feb and March, and we are giving exclusive discount for those who have attended this webinar particularly. That is 30% offer, and make sure to avail it. You have an option to avail this in your feedback form itself, and this is only valid till tonight, 11:59 p.m. So make sure to not miss out on this opportunity because you never know when you'll ever get a 30% discount again. And moving forward, these are some of our international experts, Bart sir from Netherlands and Natalia ma'am from the UK. And you just saw Rukmini Menon ma'am, she's also one of our experts. And these are the experts that will be taking the session. So make sure that you can do your own research and get the best out of the session. And moving forward, the top three performers. Finally, the most awaited moment for many people. It was a very hard pick for all of us to choose a person because everyone were equally active. But based on certain criteria, we have come up with Subhash Deshpande and Kriti, and as well as Ranil. I am sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but yeah, these are our top performers. Give it up for them, and you will be getting your own goodies through your email. So please await for that and keep a watch on your inbox. And at the end, if you have any more discussions or any more questions to be asked in regards to this session or anything in regards to mediation, our DMs in our socials as well as our emails are always open to you. So do not forget, you can resolve it. Thank you for being here and hope you had a
Thank
good
you.